Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. Hey YouTube, welcome. Episode 29. Good show for you today. Thanks. Please subscribe. Thanks for watching. All right, Professor, what do you think? You ready to roll?
Let's do it.
In 3.
Welcome to SuperTalk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode number 29. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, is my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella. Titanio, what's going on?
A little somber episode. We're kind of in a lull here, Professor. But knowing us, we have generated, or you definitely put some effort into the show notes today. So great show coming at you, people.
Yeah, well, this is a one of those weeks without much new content. But, you know, we got some news to talk about, which will be great. But, you know, look, we've got a lot of stuff coming down the road. Literally, this is like the 1 week in the next 3-4 months where we've got nothing going on. Literally for, I would say, from next week through maybe end of October, we're going to have something new to talk about every week.
Yeah, every week. If not multiple things.
Yeah, so we got a lot to get to. And so, you know, sometimes... You know what? We love doing the reviews. We love, like we did last week, we love talking about Black Widow movie. We love talking about Loki finale. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
but it takes up a lot of time, and we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
But you know, these weeks where we have no new content, where we can just kind of go over the news and just give our opinions about some things. It's kind of a nice little break, to some extent. So it'll be great.
Yeah, sometimes we don't get to really talk about stuff that is important and stuff we really want to talk about because we have a review to do. So we'll use these little open-ended shows to kind of dabble in some of that information. And today we're going to do a little preemptive strike, which is good for a show that's coming up, so that's awesome.
We're going to prime our audience for something that, if they haven't been watching it, they should, and we'll get into that this week.
So. We're going to prime their pump. We're going to prime their pump, Professor.
Well, before we get started, we always start the show by thanking our sponsor, Studio G Studios, home of the main band Corn on the Cob. Thank you, Studio G. You are the greatest. And
absolutely
can't tell you how much we appreciate you, and thanks for all your support. So look, visit their YouTube page, follow them, hit the notification bell. They got some crazy what's the latest single that's on the what's it called again?
Smacking Lips.
Oh, the name itself should warrant at least a view. Come on, you got to check it out, and a thumbs up.
It's a show. It's an absolute show. Enjoy the show.
Lip smacking.
Studio GG Studios. Have a good time. Follow them. They're great supporters of ours and have been from the beginning. So thank you.
Yeah, and then we do want to talk about our new sponsor, BSB. BSBswag.com. Titanium supporting the shirt. I'm supporting the hat. Thank God, because you don't want to see the chrome dome underneath this hat.
Oh, you sexy bastard. Come on.
But you know what? BSB, the swag is great.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But go to their website, bsbswag.com. Check it out. Literally, their shirts, their hats. It's great stuff. As a matter of fact, I was with a bunch of teenagers this weekend, and they all said, "What is that hat you're wearing?" And I'm like, "It's BSB." They're like, "That's really cool." I'm like, lifestyle brand, check it out. BSBswag.com.
That's awesome. Spread the word, spread the love. Little cross promotion. I love it. But thank you, BSB. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
And then finally, we want to thank the listeners of our show who bring the show to you, and those are our patrons. Patreon.com/SuperTalk. If you want to support the show, really, it only costs you $1 episode. You sign up, you say, hey, you know what? I'm willing to give these guys $1 episode because I enjoy the content they're producing, and it really brings me a little bit of entertainment every week. Here's $1, and it only costs you $1 per episode. And we're like a month later, we're like, you know what? I'm going to take a break. That's fine too. And guess what? Next week, if you are one of our patrons, you're going to be part of a giveaway we're doing for all the people on the Patreon. So patreon.com/SuperTalk. Become a patron, and you're going to be part of our giveaway. Next week, episode 30, we're going to make that happen. So Now's the time to do it.
Big episode next week, episode 30. So thank you guys. Thank you for the support.
All right. Well, let's without further ado, let's jump into the news and reviews. Again, no real new content. I think the one thing that was new this week, so we talked last week on our episode about the finale of Loki and the shock and awe that it brought to, really it was the first finale of a Disney Plus series where we were like really satisfied with what they did to us. And you know what, I think what we got this week was the Marvel Assembled behind the scenes filming of that show. And I know you said you got a chance to watch it. I watched it yesterday. I'd like to hear your impressions of the behind the scenes, because I've got a few things I want to say about it for sure.
I really like the behind the scenes. It really showed the relationship between the characters in the background, like as actors, the way they respected each other as actors. I thought it was great. It gave a little insight of them coming in, and Tom Hiddleston kind of teaching Owen Wilson about the history of Loki and his mannerisms and why he does the things that he does to help Owen develop that character of Morbius, and what a cool dude Owen Wilson is. He just seems like such a cool dude, and I thought that was really special, that kind of relationship that they had. So
a few things I want to talk about. First, they mentioned that the show started filming February 20th of 2020.
Yeah.
So literally a month before the pandemic really shut the country down.
Yeah.
And he said 299 days later, we wrapped filming.
Unbelievable.
So that just goes to show that they persevered through a large portion of the pandemic and the shutdown to get this show done. Now, I don't know, and we were told that it was filmed largely, the entire show was filmed in Atlanta on set. And whether they quarantined or kept everybody isolated or whatever they did, it was 299 days is a long time.
Oh, it's a long time, yeah.
For 6 episodes of content, right? And I'm sure they went through some periods of time where they had to shut down and everything else. But the other thing that I got from the behind the scenes was how much Tom Hiddleston loves playing Loki, and how grateful he feels that he was given the opportunity to play that character, and how it's fulfilled him. And he talked about the first day that he filmed the first episode of Loki. Day one wrap, he was talking to the rest of the crew.
He was like 29 years old when he started.
And he said, 10 years ago was the first time I put this costume on. And he said, it's hard to believe that we're now, 10 years later, I'm here, and we're starting the show, and he's so thankful.
Yeah.
And it comes across. I think there are people in the MCU who bring so much to their characters, and he's one of them. Where like we saw what Loki started off as in the Thor movie, and what it's become. A decade plus later, and Tom Hiddleston's pride in playing that character, and you just saw it in the show. I mean, he loves playing that character, and it's important to him.
Oh, he owns it. He absolutely owns that character, and I can't imagine he came into audition for the spot of Thor, right? And
crazy to think about. Yeah, he but then he talked about that they both him and Chris Hemsworth had both auditioned for the role of Thor, but Tom Hiddleston found out, and he worked with the director on Hamlet. They were doing Hamlet together in London, I believe.
Yeah.
And that's how he knew the director, so that's why he got the call to come try out for the Thor role. But he ended up getting the Loki role, and the first day on set, he met Chris Hemsworth, and he's like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be so awesome. Like, really, they just created this bond.
Yeah. That was really cool.
I just felt, you got a little bit of that backstory. So that was one thing. I mentioned that the time period and when they were filming was great.
He's such a beloved character. I think somebody said in that shot, if you count all the screen time that Loki has been on, it's like 2 hours. All the movies put together is 2 hours before before
Loki
Endgame
show.
Or the Loki show. Yeah, and it's so incredible that for those 2 hours combined, 15.
I thought it was much less than this. I thought he said it was like 17 minutes of on-screen time over the entire MCU movie set.
I thought it was 2 hours over all the movies, Thor, including Infinity War and all that. It was like 2 hours total. But within those 2 hours, he kind of soaked into the fan base so much that people are like, we love this character so much, and that just speaks volumes of his talent.
Well, and then we also got some insight into the conversation that he had when he first met the Russo brothers. He said, I first met the Russo brothers, and they were talking about this whole concept of Infinity War and Endgame. They were talking about this, and then he said, okay, well, the opening scene is Thanos right after Thor Ragnarok. It's Thanos, and he says, and you die. And he's like, so that's it. And Kevin Feige's like, yep,
that's
it.
Oh, wow.
And so he was told when they went to go film Endgame, the first scene in Endgame, literally the Russo brothers go film the first scene in the movie, and it's Tom Hiddleston getting killed. And he's like, so I've been playing this character for 10 years, and I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah.
And the way they were able to through Endgame, and then ultimately the Loki series, manufacture a way for him to come back and play this character again. I mean, and you heard this from Paul Bettany when he was talking about WandaVision.
Yeah.
When Vision got killed by Thanos, he's like, oh, I guess I'm done. And then they come up with this whole concept of him coming back for this series. These people love playing these characters.
Yeah,
and they're devastated when they hear that they're going to get killed off.
Absolutely. I think it's, again, he's such a talented character and such a talented actor that it would be a shame to get rid of that kind of...
Oh, well, he's a goldmine now. He's going absolutely nowhere.
Right.
This version of Loki is... We know he's coming back in the season 2 of the Loki series. So the Loki we saw in this series is coming back in season 2. We know that for sure. Again, we talked about this last week. The rumor is that he will have at least a cameo, if not a couple of scenes in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
We've heard that.
Yep.
Cameo in Thor Love and Thunder, doubtful, but possible. Who knows? We don't know. But this version of Loki is here to stay, and where they go with this character, and again, he can't be more happy. You could see that. So if you haven't seen Marvel Assembled, the behind the scenes for Loki,
you gotta watch
go
it.
Check it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you like the series, you will love this.
Yeah, they explain they had to kill him off in Endgame in the very beginning to show what a big bad that Thanos was, and they created that hate towards Thanos by killing a favorite character off, one of the favorites. So I thought that was great, and I'm glad they brought him back.
And the stuff they did at the end with Jonathan Majors when they talked about bringing him in, and Tom Hiddleston was like, so the big bad that we're all alluding to is this version of Kang, because He Who Remains is not Kang, but that's who we're talking about.
It's a variant of Kang. They
confirmed it.
Yeah,
they confirmed that Kang is what's coming.
Yeah.
And he said Jonathan Majors, and we also did hear that Jonathan Majors said, I played it like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Wizard of Oz. I played it that kind of crazy way because I want, when everybody sees Kang, it's going to be different.
Of course.
Than the version that you saw.
And we kind of knew that. We kind of called that when we reviewed that. So it opened up Phase 4. It totally set the groundwork for moving a story and a narrative about the multiverse, moving forward with that. Let me just ask our listening audience and our fans, what's your favorite Loki story, or what's your favorite Lokiism? Just put it in the comments if you don't mind, or DM us. Just give us something about Loki that you loved, because we got a lot to say about him, but I think we're going to move on.
Yeah, we'll move on. But hey, it was a great series, and we're very happy it came out. Look, we'll wrap up the Disney Plus what we've seen so far. WandaVision. Literally, we were so starved for content.
Yeah.
And what it did to us is that, thank God something's back. It was
Yeah.
fantastic, and we really enjoyed it. Falcon and Winter Soldier really kind of checked the box for the kind of classic Marvel movie kind of action series.
Regardless of how clumsy it was.
And the people in there were fantastic.
Yeah.
But Loki is now going to set up what we're seeing for the next 18 months to 2 years.
Yeah, it's
in
important.
MCU.
It's confusing. I know it's confusing to people, because I get a lot of people saying, what was that? What is happening? What's going on? I know it's kind of confusing, but you have to follow it because it sets up all these other movies, and I would say it's like a prerequisite to kind of get into the rest of the movies.
You're awesome. Right. Titanium made a good point. I think a year from now, after some of these movies that come out, again, we think the next 2 movies, Shang-Chi and Eternals, really aren't going to kind of hit on the tropes of what Loki. But after that, Spider-Man,
Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. You know, we know Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. We know all that stuff is going to be hitting on some of these things. I think a year from now we're going to be like, oh, let me go back and watch some of that stuff from Loki because it's important.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you're dead on with your analysis of Kang. So,
well, let's go. The other thing that came out of this was we did get confirmation from Marvel this week that the result or the end result of what happened in the Loki series is going to be the reason behind what we're seeing in the What If series, which comes out in a couple weeks, right? I mean,
it's an animated show.
So, again, from my perspective, I remember the What If comics from when I was a kid. And literally, the way they did it in the comics, they took all the popular characters, they took all the popular stories, and they just changed one thing. They said, what if this person did this thing instead of the other thing? What if this person was bad instead of good? What if this person, made this choice versus the other choice?
And how would that kind of snowball, the ripple effect, how would that snowball down the hill and change the whole storyline? Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, and so that's the theory behind the comic was, let me change one thing or one big aspect of this person's history or choice that they made or whatever, and we're now going to see what the ripple effects are. Well, now we've been told the reason why these ripple effects are occurring is because of the Loki series. We're now creating the multiverse, these branches in these timelines, and now all of a sudden we're going to have, and we've seen the previews of the types of episodes we're going to get with What If. What if Steve Rogers doesn't become Captain America and it's Peggy Carter?
Right.
What if Doctor Strange is a bad guy instead of a good guy? What if the Black Panther becomes becomes Star-Lord instead of Peter Quill? I mean, all these things are happening because of what Loki did or Sylvie did, right? So they did confirm.
The Loki series created it.
They did confirm that these branches or these alternate universes, alternate timelines are because of the Loki series. And we're going to see Jeffrey Wright, who plays the voice of the Watcher in the What If series, is going to be narrating that and talking about, well, here's the reason why we're doing this and what's happening. And I can't wait. I mean, again, the animation style looks really cool.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a really great series to kind of talk through. And from what we understand, they're creating this kind of like multiverse superhero team through the series.
Yeah.
They're not self-contained episodes. There are some so they start off very self-contained episodes, and then ultimately this team of multiverse heroes comes together for some reason. And we'll kind of figure that out.
Yeah, they're going to interweave all these stories to maybe a finale.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So, I mean, I'm really excited to see that. Again, What If starts August 11th, a week from next Wednesday. So 2 weeks from Wednesday, August 11th, we're going to get the What If series. I'm totally looking forward to it. I think what Marvel's doing and how they're using that series to kind of talk about the multiverse and some of the alternate timelines and things like that, it could be very cool. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I think there's one of the shows where Doctor Strange fights the bad Doctor Strange or something like that. There's multiple Stranges. I think that's going to be really cool.
And we got like Party Thor. Like Thor never really. He never has to go. He never gets demoted and has to go back to Earth to like become worthy to pick up the hammer again. Like
he just stays the
stays the happy-go-lucky frat boy Thor. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be great.
Very cool.
Yeah. Another big piece of news: the Suicide Squad, as everyone knows, is you and I just watched. Jimmy Kimmel had James Gunn.
John Cena
and Margot Robbie on talking about the Suicide Squad movie, and we got a new clip that we hadn't seen yet with Sylvester Stallone voicing King Shark, which is one of the most hysterical things ever. That movie is a week from Friday, so look, we're going to have something to view. August 6th is when Suicide Squad comes out, so that'll be really cool to kind of get some new content, and they're all excited about it. We can't wait to see it. It's going to be fantastic.
I've heard that people that have previewed the movie, that have seen it, say it is wild and it is fantastic. Like, really, really good.
Did you have any doubts when James Gunn was doing this?
But to hear them say it was better than the first, and the first one was okay, It didn't knock me off my feet, but I watched it several times. It got better. It was one of those movies where once you first watch it, it was like, oh, that was kind of cool. And then you watch it again, it got a little bit better, and watch it again, it got better. And it's a good movie. I enjoyed it.
You and I have talked about this several times.
Yeah.
It got panned, and the critics panned it.
Yeah.
And I think media panned it. But the fans, you and I think a lot of the fans out there, didn't think it was that bad. I'm like, it was entertaining. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It was cool.
I mean,
yeah, it wasn't as bad as they made it believe.
No.
It was an easy target, and I don't think it got what it deserved. Again, I've watched
it's not the worst DC movie.
No.
By no means.
No.
Is it the worst DC movie?
And the more I watched it, the better it got. But it's okay. But I think what the reviewers are saying is James Gunn's is going to blow us away.
Oh,
so.
for sure.
Yeah.
And again, so we heard James Gunn say in this interview on Jimmy Kimmel was that this is a story that he remembers as a child, and he's very fond of the Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Take some of the worst villains out there, put them on this team, and send them on suicide missions, and most of them are going to die. He's very fond of that.
Yeah, in case the audience doesn't know, it's the worst kept secret in Hollywood. A lot of these A-listers that are in this movie are going to die. So don't get too attached to everybody.
Yeah,
but
I think there's 12 to 14 people on this version of the Suicide Squad, and so if 4 or 5 of them make it out alive, we're going to be very fortunate.
Oh yeah, my guess is
4.
Right there 4. I think 4 or 5 would be my guess.
Well, we know Peacemaker survives because John Cena's doing a Peacemaker show for HBO Max, so we know that for sure.
We know Margot Robbie's going to survive.
We doubt Margot Robbie gets killed off because her version of Harley Quinn is. We've already had the Birds of Prey movie, and
they're not going to get rid of her.
Ingrained there. The Idris Elba version of what's the character he plays? It's
Bloodshot.
Is it Bloodshot? I thought that was who Will Smith played.
Bloodshot. Will Smith played
something shot.
Something Death Shot. Something Shot.
Oh, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So Idris Elba, maybe. Does he survive? Maybe. And then we've got Rick Flag, who's
I think he'll make it.
Yeah, and so those are the ones we think are going to survive, but everybody else is up.
Maybe
for
King
grabs.
Shark might survive.
Yeah, King Shark.
The chick that plays
Captain Boomerang, who survived the last one.
I don't think he survives.
No.
The rat catcher, I think she might survive. I think she's a fan favorite for some reason. That actress is really great, but who knows? It's going to be exciting. But a lot of them, yeah.
And, it literally can't come at a better time. August 6th is one of those. Hey, there's nothing else on, so let's watch this. It'll be great.
Here's a guarantee: the guy from SNL, what's his name, Davis, big, tall, skinny kid from
with the
SNL.
Tattoos.
Yeah,
who
the
dated
tattoos.
Ariana Grande.
Smoke show.
Yeah.
What's his name? Davis. Something Davis. I guarantee you, he doesn't survive. He's going to be the first one to get axed. If it was a Star Trek film, he would be wearing one of those
red uniforms.
The red uniforms. Any guy that came on Star Trek with a red shirt on was done. Like, oh, sorry, dude, you're getting killed this episode.
Right, the red shirts.
Yeah.
So that's great. We're looking forward to that. August 6th. If you put it on your calendar, you won't want to miss it. Again, in theaters and on HBO Max simultaneously.
But if you do miss it, catch our show and we'll explain it to you.
Yeah. We should get tickets for that, by the way.
We should.
Yeah, we need to do that.
I'm actually out of town. And
the 6th?
Yeah. Yeah, we got to do the...
I'm out of town on the 6th. I'll be back the 7th. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. But we should see it together because I want to laugh at you.
Yeah. Or laugh with me. One of the two.
Did I say laugh at you?
Yes.
I want to laugh with you, brother.
Right, exactly.
Professor.
So the other big news this week, and no surprise, but we did get some pretty solid confirmation that Vincent D'Onofrio, who played the Kingpin in the Daredevil series on Netflix, so let's kind of go back a little bit. The Netflix series and all the characters, Daredevil, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and the Heroes for Hire, and the Defenders. Marvel leased the rights to those characters to Netflix. Netflix created all these series, and The Punisher, by the way, is another one. They made all these great series, and some of them great, some of them not so great. But look, they're out there on Netflix. They've been fantastic. Well, Marvel pulled those rights back and said they had a year where they couldn't use these characters anymore. And then they came out and said, look, we're going to reuse these characters. We're not really sure when. Now, here's what we know. Rumor number one. Charlie Cox, who played Daredevil in those Netflix series, amazingly.
Yeah.
He was fantastic.
Yeah.
Just did such a great... Had 3 seasons of Daredevil on Netflix, and all 3 of them were off the charts
Off
good.
the charts. Yep.
Off the charts good. And...
a huge fan favorite.
Huge fan favorite.
Yeah.
He is now rumored to be in Spider-Man Far From Home.
Okay.
Rumored. Again, he was seen on set and all these other things, so it's a rumor that he's back.
Busy movie.
We got a somewhat of a confirmation that Kristen Ritter's version of Jessica Jones shows up in the She-Hulk series.
She-Hulk
on Disney Plus
with Luke Cage.
And she was also a fan favorite, and her series, both seasons were fantastic.
Yes.
And now we got news this week that Vincent D'Onofrio is confirmed to be in Hawkeye, the Disney Plus series Hawkeye. And again, we got another piece of news here. Marvel confirmed that Hawkeye and Ms. Marvel are coming out before the end of 2021.
Yes, they have confirmed that they will be released this year. So we literally have 5 months. And if that is true...
6 episodes each, by the way.
6 episodes each, plus What If. So we have confirmed 3 Disney Plus shows.
How many episodes of What If are there? Do we know that yet?
I thought there were 6.
Is there only 6 episodes of What If?
I'm pretty sure there's 6.
Okay, so if we get What If...
If I'm wrong, put it in the comments.
What If starts August 11th, which brings us... So 6 weeks would bring us through kind of end of September, like 3rd week in September.
Uh-huh.
And let's say then we get Ms. Marvel a week later.
Yep.
So that's kind of like the first week in October. So that gives us 6 weeks, gives us to mid-November. Mm-hmm. Then we get Hawkeye mid-November through the end of the year.
Yeah.
But Marvel did come out and say, we're getting... And Ms. Marvel comes out first, so that's the first one we're getting, is Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
We know that's coming out first. And then we're getting Hawkeye. But what we got this week was... Vincent D'Onofrio is going to be, whether it's a cameo or has multiple scenes in the Hawkeye series, and this gets back to Kate Bishop and the character she plays and the ties to the mob that her parents have, and some other things that are happening there, and the ties to the mob that Kingpin has.
Yeah, the tracksuit gang, the
tracksuit mafia,
is
and
rumored to be in Hawkeye, and I can see Kingpin.
The clown. Who's the clown villain? There's a clown villain in the show as well.
Okay.
In addition to the tracksuit mafia, but yeah,
it would make sense for him to show up in that.
The Kingpin, but for it to be Vincent D'Onofrio,
how great!
I mean, look, guys, if you have not seen The Punisher nor the Daredevil series on Netflix, where Vincent D'Onofrio played the Kingpin, so the Kingpin is one of the big bads in Marvel Comics, and he's always...
I just watched
Kingpin of Crime
in the Spider-Verse. You know that animated show, Into the Spider-Verse.
He's in that.
That's the way they drew him, like
right.
Huge, big round head, little round head on this massive body. The character is spot on. Right. He's such a great character.
But Vincent D'Onofrio, great actor.
Yeah,
been fantastic. Full Metal Jacket. If you haven't seen it,
awesome.
Yeah, but the guy is amazing. But for him to be that character, and he played it so well in both the Punisher series and the Daredevil series. He played it great.
Series. Yep.
They're bringing him back, and so here's what we know: he's coming back for sure. Rumors are Kristen Ritter comes back in the She-Hulk series. Rumors are that Charlie Cox is back in Spider-Man and potentially the She-Hulk series as well. We heard that he may be an opposing counsel in the She-Hulk series.
It is a courtroom drama.
Right?
Yeah, it's a courtroom thing. And it's a lawyer show.
And we are just waiting. We've heard and we've been told, and we're assuming that John Bernthal's coming back as the Punisher at some point in time in some Disney Plus series. And again, we talked about, if you're in New York City, the Punisher shows up, it's going to be John Bernthal. So those are the ones that we think are coming back.
How great.
Mike Coulter as Luke Cage and Finn Jones as Iron Fist, probably not. But the rest, free reign.
Yeah, I think so. I think that they're going to bring back the most popular, the ones that did the best on that streaming service. Bring them back in. Fans have been screaming for it. They've been petitioning for them.
It's July. It's nearing the end of July. There's not a lot of new content on, unless you're watching Big Brother and all kinds of others. There's not a lot of new content on TV. If you're looking for something to watch, go back and watch some of those Netflix series. I'm going to tell you, if you haven't watched the Daredevil series, watch it.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched the Punisher series,
yeah.
watch it. If you haven't watched Jessica Jones, watch it.
The rest of it you can sleep on.
Right, but those three are
definitely
fantastic.
Yeah.
And for them to bring those characters back, I'm all for it.
Yeah. I might watch a few of those before.
Really? Rewatch them. I mean, they're
I'm just going to watch at least the last episode of each of those series. Yeah, they're really good.
All right. We also got a few new kind of clips and some scenes from Let There Be Carnage, Venom's Let There Be Carnage. We also got some insights into how Sony and Marvel are planning to kind of integrate the Venomverse and Spider-Man and the MCU kind of together. So we always were assuming, and again, we've talked about this in previous episodes, from what we've been told, the Morbius movie, it's a Sony movie, a Sony character.
It's in the can. It's been sitting there for months and months and months.
Was one of the first movies that was delayed because of COVID. It was supposed to come out March of 2020.
Yep.
It was delayed. It was supposed to come back out this year. They delayed it again to next March. So now it's going to be almost 2 full years.
2 years.
And again, if anybody has seen that trailer several times, one of the big kind of insights into kind of that being in the MCU was Michael Keaton.
Yeah. The
version of Michael Keaton that played the Vulture in the Spider-Man movies is in that trailer. And so we assume he's in the movie somewhere.
Yeah.
And so we're like, wait a minute. And then we heard a story a few weeks ago about Ty, the guy from
Fast and the Furious.
Yeah. He came out and said, oh yeah, Tyrese Gibson came out and said, oh, it's in the MCU. And he kind of spilled the beans there.
Yeah.
So if Morbius is in the MCU, or wait a minute, the Venom is in the... And we kind of talked about this before. They've talked about the fact that, wow, they're kind of in San Francisco. They don't know that Spider-Man exists. Eventually they will, and we're going to integrate that.
Yeah.
And the multiverse may be an explainer and all these other things.
We know from the Loki series that vampires are real things.
Right.
And in the MCU, Morbius said it. We've had Titans, we've had vampires. Pretty incredible, yeah.
Not Morbius.
Mobius.
Right. So that's going to be so hard for us going forward is because Morbius is the living vampire,
yes.
and Mobius is the guy on Loki.
Yeah.
It's going to be really hard for us.
I'm kind of stoked for that movie. I like him as an actor.
Jared Leto?
Jared Leto, yeah. I like him as an actor. I think he's brilliant. But
what he did with the Joker in the original Suicide Squad movie was fantastic.
He got totally crushed for that. But I like that version of the Joker. I thought it was completely different than anything we've ever seen. Heath Ledger and some of the classic Jokers, you can't go down that same road. I mean, you can't go up against legends that have played that. Jack Nicholson.
Right.
You can't go up against those. So his version of it... Sid Scissors. What a throwback!
Yeah.
That's awesome. But so I thought he did brilliant work with that, and I'd love to see that again. Who knows if we're going to? But he's a good actor.
Yeah. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah.
That'll be a good one coming out. But hey, this new deal that Marvel and Sony signed, we just feel that they're now in bed together, kind of for the long term. This is not something that's going to be temporary. That we feel, and I think for a while there it was. And I think those first kind of few Tom Holland movies were like, okay, well, we'll give you Spider-Man for a couple of movies, and we'll let him cameo in a couple of other things.
I think they've hashed that out.
But yeah, I think now they're totally like, hey, we could both make a ton of money doing this together. We can share. We can play well with each other.
We need to move forward with this relationship. Absolutely. I think it's great. I think bringing vampires into it.
Well, the big key that we heard a few weeks ago was that Sony has allowed Marvel Studios to own the promotion behind Spider-Man No Way Home. I mean, for them to sign over the promotional rights of that movie to Marvel, that is
huge.
Humongous.
Yeah.
They're trusting that Marvel's vision for this movie and the future of the MCU, including all the Spider-Verse stuff. I mean, look, we know No Way Home. We got a big question mark about that. There's some concerns we have. We'll get there. And again, the other big thing that came out this week is we believe Sony is planning to drop a trailer for that movie by the end of the summer.
Yeah.
Right? It's been rumored for weeks. It's been rumored for months. But hey, by the end of the summer, right? By the end of the summer, we're going to see something.
We'll see something. We might see a teaser or something. Right. Another thing is, I'll get into it later.
All right. Well, you also we had a list of all the Phase 4 directors for Marvel were all kind of confirmed, right?
Yeah, and the big news is they've nailed down a director for Blade. You want me to?
But this is not a Phase 4 director, though. Blade is not in Phase 4, right?
Blade supposedly is not in Phase 4. Supposedly, I would not. Supposedly,
or supposedly.
Blee? It might be. Supposedly. You can say Lee if you want to, but I think it's racist.
Love it.
I think it's racist. You're being very Asian, and I think that's racist. So
okay.
Supposedly. It might. I don't know. We have no confirmed date when they're going to start filming.
Blade was the one movie that was left out of the Phase 4 kind of schedule that Marvel released to us during their thing they did a couple months ago.
Where Kevin Feige said that Fantastic Four will end the Phase 4.
Well, we got that whole trailer that Marvel released about a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
It was the kind of like come back to the movies trailer that Marvel did. Right. And they showed every movie they have on the slate and every date that it's coming out. And they ended with the Fantastic Four logo with no date behind it.
Yeah,
and again,
TBD.
We're assuming that's going to be kind of late summer 2023.
Yeah.
So we understand that. But then Blade wasn't part of that.
No.
And so we're like, what about Blade?
Right.
But now we have a director.
A director, and they're moving forward with the writing of the film and his vision of the film. So, I don't know. Could they slip it in? They probably won't slip it in Phase 4. They'll probably push it it'll open up Phase 5. And I have a feeling Blade, werewolves, that whole theme is going to be slowly integrated into Phase 4. I think we're going to get Werewolf by Night in Moon Knight. I think they're going to introduce that character.
So you're talking about kind of the
Monsterverse, kind of.
Yeah, but they call it the Marvel Knights, KNIGHTS, right? Marvel Knights. That kind of it was Ghost Rider.
Yep.
Doctor Strange, Morbius. Blade, they were all part of this kind of this team of heroes that was kind of more in the dark, kind of vampires and werewolves and all kinds of other stuff. Yeah, and so that may be some direction they're going there. Here's my feeling on this whole thing. I think if Fantastic Four is going to end Phase 4, and we're getting introduced to Kang in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which is coming out in the spring of 2023.
Yeah.
Fantastic Four will kind of be like this summer of
So
2023. I believe that they're setting up two main components of what we anticipate will be Secret Wars.
Yeah.
You'll get Kang in Quantumania, and then I believe they're going to introduce Doctor Doom
in that
Fantastic Four movie.
Okay.
And Doctor Doom was the primary person responsible for the 2015 version of Secret Wars, which is kind of the more modern version. And maybe the two of them somehow figure out that that's this multiverse war that needs to happen, and maybe that's where we go in Phase 5. So
Doctor Doom Phase 5.
Yeah.
I like it.
I
just don't want to wait that long. I'm getting anxious.
Hey, we've got stuff, though. I mean, literally, Titanium, if we look at what's happening, not just the rest of this year, but through kind of summer of 2023, we have so much stuff coming.
I know.
Moon Knight,
I'm really excited for
Wakanda Forever, with Atlantis being introduced. I mean, it's just so much stuff.
You hear almost every other day. You hear some casting for Wakanda Forever.
Right. So great news about Blade, which is fantastic. And again, we feel that that's going to be a Phase 5 movie. The one that's still being hung out there is, what are they doing with the mutants? What are they doing with the X-Men?
Yeah.
How are they going to introduce? And we hear that there's some talk. I think that's the next ball that's going to drop. We've got everything kind of confirmed through Phase 4, and now Blade, which is kind of like the first Phase 5 movie. Okay. So the question is, what's next in Phase 5?
Yeah.
And, they're going to have to start hiring directors, writing scripts, hiring actors, casting people. I mean,
we're going to start hearing about it. Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah, and I don't think we're going to see origin stories like we've discussed. I think they're going to integrate them into original content in other movies and other stories, just kind of bring them in.
The best thing that could ever happen, and I think it would have happened had Chadwick Boseman not passed away tragically, but introducing Storm or Aurora Monroe as the Storm character in Wakanda Forever, the next Black Panther movie, would have been like the natural way to kind of bring a mutant into the MCU.
Right. And
we'll see.
I mean, technically, Namor is a mutant. So,
technically.
So, and we know he's going to be in that.
And technically, Wanda's kids are mutants, and so there's and Wanda's a mutant technically.
Sure.
And, so there, we've got a lot. So
cool.
All right. Okay, and then we.
So the director of Blade, can you say his name since I'm butchering names and pronunciations?
Mohammed Diab.
Mohammed
Diab.
That's Moon Knight.
Oh.
Bassam
Tariq.
Yeah, Bassam Tariq is the new. Yeah, supposedly he's a hot as shit director. Did some foreign films, some Middle Eastern films, and he's I can't wait.
Look,
me too.
I'm all for these like independent, directors who
their visions aren't your typical Hollywood vision. They give a special.
And think about this: Marvel hired Chloe Zhao to do the Eternals way before she was even doing the movie that won an Oscar last year.
Sure.
So the Eternals movie was filmed a year in advance of the movie that she just won an Oscar for this past year. So they were way in front of that. So they're hiring these hot shit little, directors. And I think this Bassam Tariq guy is probably highly regarded in Hollywood, and he's the next hot director. And
next hot lick. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, look. You're not going to get Mahershala Ali, an Oscar-winning actor, to play this role and not have somebody who's going to take the reins. And I mean, Mahershala Ali had to tie off in this director. There's no way that he did not.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
well, I'm sure he had something to do with it.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, you kind of get that. That's the kind of card you earn when you win an Oscar. Hey, what director you want to work with? That guy. Yeah,
right.
Hey,
we're thinking about these lists. Who would you like to work with in this list of people? And they had to have closed it down like that. So I think it's great. I just want to see that move forward. Again, you brought up Eternals, not me. I am not excited about that. After the trailer and watching it several times, I've kind of lost a little faith in that. So hopefully something comes out that kind of puts me back on track, but I'm a little worried.
And again, Titanium, I think that's going to be a nice kind of piece of content, just similar to what we had with Black Widow just recently. I think, we're going to have these. Look, think about what's going to happen. We're going to get Shang-Chi in September.
That I'm excited for.
During the time that we're watching Ms. Marvel.
Yep.
And then we're going to have the Hawkeye series, and then we're going to get the Eternals movie while we're watching Hawkeye.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get Spider-Man No Way Home. And we're going to be like, if the Eternals movie sucks, think about the worst Marvel movie you've ever watched. It's still
pretty
watchable.
good, yeah.
You can still watch it several times.
Yeah.
And I think the Eternals movie, we may see, I think Marvel is really holding back a lot. And I think it'll be good.
Okay.
I don't think it'll be great, but I think it'll be good. All right. Last piece of news. So we got a new person being cast as Batgirl for an HBO Max series, Batgirl series, right? And if you guys watched recently In the Heights, the movie came out on HBO Max. The star of that was an actress by the name of Leslie Grace, and she was cast as Batgirl in the new series that Warner Brothers is doing for HBO Max. They're going to create a Batgirl series, and she's been cast as Batgirl.
Yeah, I think Joss Whedon was attached to this project very early on, and he was going to make a movie, an actual film, an actual movie for this. It wasn't going to be a streaming service on HBO Max. And then he got, I guess, torn away from it, or they parting ways, creative discussions on this, and it got kind of canned a little bit, and now it's back. So it's going to be an HBO Max. I think it'll be great. She's a smoke show. Great actress.
Definite smoke show.
Barbara Gordon. She's going to be playing the character Barbara Gordon for Batgirl. Sometimes I feel like studios are making decisions based on what's happening in the world today and
being socially correct versus being
correct instead of being
historically accurate.
Yeah, comic book accurate, and I think that kind of bites them in the ass sometimes. Like the show Batwoman. Yeah, Batwoman. It's not doing very well. It hasn't done very well. It's gone through several actresses as Batwoman. The story is very clunky. I just think that sometimes you need to stick with the comic book accuracy of the character and not flip it up. Sometimes it makes complete sense. and it actually adds to the character and the storyline.
I'll give you an example where it worked, and it worked really well. Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury.
Absolutely.
So Nick Fury in the original Marvel comics was this, kind of crotchety, kind of, we'll say late 50s, early 60s kind of white guy who was, it was like a spy, and
he was a spy.
When Marvel came out with their Ultimates universe, and I've explained this a few episodes ago, that the Ultimates universe was a way for Marvel to kind of reboot some of their titles and have simultaneous titles with a little kind of some changes to the backstory and changes to the characters, slight changes.
Yeah.
So you had like the regular Avengers title, which had been in existence since the 50s, and that's continuing to go on the way that it always has. And then we've got Ultimate Avengers, and it's like, well, let's change some of the backstories a little bit. Let's change some of the characters a little bit. And it gave them some. And the reason behind that was, well, if you haven't been reading these comics since the 50s and 60s, and you want to pick it up for the first time, you don't know who these characters are and where they came from and their backstories. So the Ultimates was a way for new comic book fans to start reading books for the first time and get the story from day one.
Get the story from day one and kind of modernize those characters.
And modernize the characters and come up with some new versions. And in the Ultimate Avengers, Nick Fury was an African American.
Yep.
And it was great.
Received very well. Yeah.
In the comics, received very well. And so when Marvel decided to cast the role of Nick Fury for the movies in the MCU, they chose an African American actor to play that character, Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson, a badass. He's one of the greatest actors. I love him. I think he's played that like Tom Hiddleston, he's played it to perfection.
I can't imagine anybody else playing that character.
You're exactly right.
Played it, and that is where integrating some diversity into some of these characters and kind of going against and again, I would not have wanted to see the original version of Nick Fury in the Avengers.
Yeah, he made it better.
Who would you have cast in that that role? I mean, I don't even know who I would have thought of being in that role, but I wouldn't want to see that. And Samuel Jackson's been great.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why, and that's where it worked.
Yeah.
So bringing some diversity into characters, I think, works sometimes.
Yeah.
To your point, though, Titanium, bringing diversity to characters for the sake of diversity does not always. If you're going to just punt on the status quo of these characters we've known for 40, 50, 60, 70 years.
And try to shove diversity down a comic book fan's throat just for the sake of doing it and trying to be politically correct, I think it's the wrong reason. So that's just my feeling.
Now, Leslie Grace is Hispanic American, from what I understand. She's Latino American. As you mentioned, smoke show.
Yep.
And she's a fantastic actress.
Yep.
And she could play this role phenomenally.
Yeah.
So, again, you always go into these situations with some open-mindedness, saying they could be fantastic in the role. Wow.
Wow.
But they could go into this role and just crush it. So you just never know. So give them the benefit of the doubt.
Oh, I'm not going to judge until it's out. I hope it works.
But we talked about this last week. You talked about, hey, they're going for a diverse cast for Fantastic Four. They're going, and it's like, okay,
do it right though.
Hire great actors and actresses, and nobody will care.
No one will care.
Nobody will care.
But to do it just to do it doesn't work. Does not work.
No.
So you're right.
But if you hire the right people, don't hire a diverse cast for the sake of diversity. Hire great actors and actresses that play these roles, and nobody will care the fact that they're diverse. That's the bottom line, right?
So another piece of news we have out there from Marvel Studios, Victoria Alonso confirmed, and we talked about this, the Hawkeye and Miss Marvel will premiere before that. And then I think that's it for the news. You want to get into the topic of the week?
Yeah, we do, and it's a good one. So we've got a treat coming, and we've alluded to this in previous episodes. Titans is a show that's currently available on HBO Max. The first 2 seasons of this show premiered on a streaming service that DC created kind of their own streaming service called DC Universe, and it was a place where you can go watch some original content they were going to create. Titans, and Teen Titans, the cartoon was another one that they
a lot of animated series on there.
But they also did. It was kind of their back catalog of animated movies, the animated shows, and you could actually go back and see all the Christopher Reeve Supermans and everything. They created their own streaming service. Didn't do so well independently, and they decided to fold all of that content into HBO Max.
Thank God.
Yeah, well, for anybody like yourself who didn't have the DC Universe subscription, you didn't get to watch some of these. So they started with the Titans show. The two main shows that they said we're going to create that are going to be on the DC Universe was Titans, the live action show,
Doom Patrol,
and Teen Titans the cartoon, season 3. That was originally going to be on DC Universe, and then they decided to do Doom Patrol after the fact.
Okay.
So that was the third one. So the two real reasons why you would have subscribed were because I want to see Teen Titans when it comes out. The first 2 seasons of Teen Titans were on Netflix, I believe. And they were like some of the most popular, we'll say, animated series on Netflix. Were the first 2 versions of Teen Titans, the animated series.
Well, season 1 now of Titans is on
and
TNT? And 2?
Well, so season 1 and 2 are available on HBO Max. So if you're an HBO Max subscriber, you can watch 1 and 2 in its entirety.
On your own, yeah.
And Warner Brothers decided to release... So Warner Brothers does own all the Turner networks as well. So they own TNT and TBS and Sci-Fi and a bunch of other channels. They've decided to release season 1 of Titans. They as a matter of fact, streamed it, or they binged it on TNT, like back to back. You can watch the entire season in one day or whatever. But it's all on demand on TNT app as well. So if you don't have HBO Max, you can watch it on TNT.
Yeah.
But the reason we're talking about this is because it's a live action show that, frankly, is done very well.
Yeah.
They've had 2 seasons of the show. Again, the first 2 seasons were originally released on DC's own streaming service. They ultimately made their way onto HBO Max, and they're available there now. The reason why we're going to talk about this today is because season 3 of Titans starts August 11th.
Yeah.
So we've got a trailer for the new season, and there's some really exciting things that they're going to be doing in this show this season that kind of allude back to some of the popular comic book stories. And so your friends at SuperTalk were like, hey, all right, audience, if you haven't seen Titans and you want to start from season 3, we're going to give you a little bit of primer. We're going to catch you up. We're going to talk about the characters, who's in the show, what's kind of happened in season 1 and season 2, and we'll kind of get you caught up.
Yeah, this is a primer for the Titans.
For Titans season 3.
I highly suggest you go watch season 1 and season 2.
Spoiler warning, right? We're going to talk about some things,
yeah.
And we're not going to go into detail about specifics, but
spoiler warning.
We're going to get into some high level concepts of what's happened in season 1 and 2, just to catch people up. But I would implore people to go back and watch season 1 and 2.
It's worth it. It's worth the watch. Yeah,
it's done very well.
Yeah,
it's done very well.
And it's done very well, and it's got a following, quite the fan following. So I would definitely go watch it.
So, just kind of a precursor. Let's kind of talk about Titans, quote unquote, the show, and how it came to be. There was and we've got a little view of a comic book cover here. Teen Titans was a team in the DC Comics that started back in the 50s and 60s. Originally it was Dick Grayson, who played Robin. Kid Flash, which was Wally West at the time. So we had the Barry Allen version of Flash, and Kid Flash was Wally West. So we had Wally West, Dick Grayson, and Aqualad all created this version of Teen Titans, and then ultimately Donna Troy, who is Wonder Girl, came into that team as well. So that was the first version, and then a few years later, we had what the cover we're seeing on YouTube right now is the new Teen Titans, which ended up being Robin again, Cyborg, Beast Boy, Starfire, and Raven. So that's the version that we saw in the new Teen Titans.
And
then,
that's the cartoon as well. The animated.
They had two popular animated series.
Yes.
One was the Teen Titans, which was kind of like more realistic and followed the comic books. And the other one was Teen Titans Go, which if you're a Cartoon Network junkie, you've watched Teen Titans Go with Cyborg and Beast Boy and Robin and Starfire and Raven, and it's hysterical.
Yeah.
And it's funny as hell.
Great writing.
And so many cameos from the other series. I mean, it's literally, it's funny.
Yeah.
But this team has been around for a long time, and ultimately it's gone through many different iterations and different characters, and we've had different people join the team and different people leave, and then we had some great storylines. But one of the great villains in the DC universe was introduced in the Teen Titans comic, and that's Deathstroke.
Yeah.
So he was originally introduced in Teen Titans.
Teen Titans.
That's where he came from.
Wow.
So he's one of the big bads in DC Universe now, but he originally came through the Teen Titans. And they've had some great stories, and frankly, DC's done some follow-on animated movies with the Teen Titans now that are on. You can find them on HBO Max as well, and they're fantastic.
Yeah.
So you haven't seen them like Teen Titans Judas Contract, Teen Titans versus the Justice League. I mean, there's a bunch of them out there, and they're great. But that's kind of what is driving this show that's now, we're talking about this live action series.
Yeah.
And we've had, again, 2 seasons so far, and a third is coming in a week and a half, and we want to kind of talk about how do we get here? So this originally was talked about, and they went through the castings. And I remember you and I talking about this when they first started casting these characters. Like, really? This is kind of strange. So Dick Grayson's he's played by an actor named Brandon Thwaites, and he was in Pirates of the Caribbean. Which one was it? It was like Dead Man's Chest. I think.
Something like that.
He's a known actor, and he was in one of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. It was the one after
Dead Men Tell No Lies or something.
Yeah, Dead Man's Chest or something like that. But so he was in there, and he, was probably the most. I'd say he had the most high-profile role at the time when he was cast in this role. Everybody else that plays these characters, I'll kind of go through some of them. Anna Diop plays Coriander or Starfire. Tegan Croft plays Rachel Roth. She's has never been, nor has she been referred to as the character Raven, but that's who she's playing in the show. But it's Rachel Roth in the series. Ryan Potter plays Gar Logan, who has never been referred to as Beast Boy, but that's who he's playing. Yeah. Curran Walters plays Jason Todd, who is the second iteration of Robin.
Yeah.
So when Dick Grayson left Batman to join the Teen Titans, Batman brought on a new Robin who ended up being Jason Todd, and that's who we've seen in this show as well. Connor Leslie plays Donna Troy, Wonder Girl. She's half Amazonian. Smoke Show, by the way.
So she's an Amazonian like Wonder Woman.
She just very similar to Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman is her mentor.
Right. Minka Kelly plays Dawn Granger or Dove.
Smoke Show.
And we know Minka Kelly from Friday Night Lights, dated Derek Jeter. She's an absolute smoke show. In the comic books, so she plays Dove, and Alan Rixton, who plays Hawk. So Hawk and Dove are a duo in the Teen Titans. They were in the Teen Titans for some period of time. They were actually brothers. So it was the brothers. It was Hank Hall and his brother. Can't remember his brother's name.
They played Dove.
Hawk and Dove were brothers.
Yeah.
But in this show, Hawk and Dove are
boyfriend,
girlfriend, male and female. So we'll kind of get through the seasons, and I don't want to get into too much detail because it is worth watching.
Yeah, spoiler alert, here it comes.
Yeah, so there's we'll talk about some of the kind of plot lines. So the first season starts off in Detroit, and Dick Grayson is a police detective in Detroit. And so we know it's Dick Grayson, and we know he's left Batman, and he has nothing to do with Batman anymore. As a matter of fact, he's estranged from Batman. He's kind of angry at him for some reason. We don't know why. He's in Detroit, he's a detective, and we get the character of Rachel Roth comes to him and says, "I need your help. I'm being hunted." And she's being hunted by this cult basically, who's now trying to capture her, and he helps her out, and ultimately they're joined by Starfire, who's Corey Anders, right, or actually Corey Anders,
who's from another planet,
right,
outer space,
and Beast Boy. As a matter of fact, they get Beast Boy from the Doom Patrol. He kind of shows up and ends up being on the team as well.
A little crossover there from the Doom Patrol,
slight crossover, but Raven is being hunted by some cult throughout the entire season. We do meet Hawk and Dove in the show. We find out that originally Dick Grayson had formed a team called the Titans. And it was Robin,
Aqualad,
Hawk and Dove, Donna Troy, or Wonder Girl. And they formed their own team, and they were, basically kind of their own superhero team. And something bad happened. We don't know what it was, but something bad happened to disband the team, and they were no longer a team.
We won't disclose that, will we?
Well, we kind of find out about that in season 2. We don't find out about that in season 1. We do find out about it in season 2. But ultimately, this team, and Starfire, who is Corey Anders, is drawn to Raven for some reason. She's drawn to her. She feels like the need to protect her, and she's helping her out. So they're kind of all together.
They have this weird relationship.
They have this connection somehow. But at the end of the season, we find out that her father is this demon called Trigon, which is the truth from the comic books. Her father is a demon called Trigon. And this cult, led by her mother, frankly, has this plot to... she's the gateway that allows Trigon to come into our world, right? And so by the end of the season, that happens. And the entire Titans team is kind of caught up in this, oh my God, Trigon is now on our planet.
Right.
So that's kind of how I won't get in again too much detail about season 1, but it's really worth watching.
It's a good synopsis. Yeah, that's absolutely a good breakdown.
We start
it's worth watching, guys.
Season 2. Very quickly, the team's able to overcome Trigon and defeat him. I won't go into the details behind that, but they do find a way to make that happen. But season 2 kind of revolves around 3 major kind of subplots, right?
Yeah.
So Dick Grayson, who did don his Robin uniform several times in season 1, but burned it at the end of season 1. It's like, I'm done. I'm done with the Robin persona. I'm not going to play Robin anymore. And again, we did get the version of Jason Todd, version of Robin, basically came aboard, and we do meet the version of Batman from this part of the universe in season 2. We meet him.
Yeah.
And it's the guy who is in Game of Thrones. He played...
the protector of Daenerys. That warrior, the older guy.
Whose father gave the sword to Jon Snow. Yeah. You'd recognize the actor. You can't remember his name. But anyway, he plays Batman, and we find out that Dick Grayson got mad at Batman and left him, and then he brought on Jason Todd and started training him. But Jason Todd's just a fiery kind of hot-headed kid, and Batman asked Dick Grayson to bring him onto the team and train him, and help teach him the right ways to do things. So in season 2, we really get Dick Grayson kind of saying, look, we need to reform the team. There's reasons why this team needs to be together again.
Yeah. And
so him and Wonder Girl and Starfire and Hawk and Dove decide to kind of reform the team and create the Titans again. And Beast Boy and Raven are there, but they're not former members of the team, but they're kind of there. They're just kind of being helped and watched. And Jason Todd's on the team, but he's kind of like a pain in the ass. He helps out, but he's a pain. But anyway, they go back to the old Titans headquarters, and it's great. Well, we Deathstroke. We see Deathstroke.
They introduced Deathstroke in season 2.
In season 2, and his daughter.
His daughter, yeah.
So
that's one storyline.
Right. So the big storyline is that his daughter, Rose, joins the Titans because her father's trying to kill her.
She's
running away, and she's kind of got healing powers, and she's a great fighter. But then we also meet Jericho, who we understand Dick Grayson knows and has known for years and known that he's the son of Deathstroke, but he's kind of watched him and taken care of him and been like a mentor to him. And he's mute. He can't talk.
Right.
So he knows sign language and all these other things. We meet them. We understand Deathstroke realizes the Titans have reformed and realizes he needs to stop them. So that's one subplot, is the Titans and Deathstroke kind of fighting against each other, and his daughter being part of the team. And I'll say that there's a storyline in the Titans comics called the Judas Contract, where somebody joins the team and kind of undermines them from inside, and that's kind of one of the things that happens there. The other subplot is Cadmus Labs and a version of Connor Kent, Superboy, with his dog, which we got like a teaser of in the end of season 1.
They basically test tubed another Superman.
Well, they took the DNA of Superman, the DNA of Lex Luthor, and combined them and created a clone.
Yes.
And that's Superboy's Connor Kent. And he has a dog named Crypto who can fly and shoot lasers out of his eyes.
Too,
yeah.
From the same DNA.
So he's part of the plot of season 2. And then the third plot, the third kind of plot of season 2 is also this kind of Coriander or Corianders or Starfire coming to grips with the fact that she is a princess from an alien planet, and there are people that are like, you need to come back and take the throne, or if you're not going to come back, we're going to force you to come back.
Right.
And she's like, no, I'm done with that. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
I don't want to be the queen because her parents die.
Right.
And she's got an evil sister.
She's got an evil sister who ends up showing up at the end, the last episode. The ending kind of post-credit scene is her sister showing up on Earth, basically coming after the person who has the rights to the throne, right? So
her evil sister is Darkfire.
Right. So and again, multiple appearances of Batman in the show. I mean, season 2 was fantastic. Lots of things happened with the team. But we've seen previews for season 3. Multiple storylines there. Yeah. Again, we have the whole Starfire, Darkfire,
the sister,
fighting against each other.
Nightwing.
So Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing at the end of season 2. He takes on the new persona of Nightwing, and so we've got him, but he's now completely broken away from Batman. But Robin, the Jason Todd version we see, is now being hunted by the Joker and ultimately might die and become a version of the Red Hood, which we saw from the comics. So lots of crazy things happening in season 3. We're all looking forward to it, so it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, cool. That I liked Titans. You convinced me to watch it. I was kind of weary because I didn't like some of the casting, and I still don't like the way they portrayed Beast Boy. I think they do a shitty job on him. Everybody else is excellent. The character development, the character storyline, the pace,
and we were very reluctant to accept. So they cast an African American woman as Starfire in the first season.
Yes,
and the way that they portrayed her was just kind of weird. She looks so much better in season 2, and frankly, I've learned to really like her. She's a fantastic actress, and she's played that character very well.
Yeah, I can't imagine anybody playing it differently now.
But some of the other people they've cast in these roles have been fantastic. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been great. Look, if you haven't watched it, watch season 1 and 2, because season 3 comes out in a week and a half.
And we're going to talk the shit out of it.
We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk a lot about it.
Because it's really good.
It is.
Really
Absolutely.
Good. All right.
You want to hit the bell? I mean, we're pushing it here. We talked a lot, but let's ring the bell, Professor, and let's end school here.
All right, well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com, or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out.
It is amazing how long we can talk about shit.
Yeah. That's great. Good stuff. Thank you, YouTube. Please subscribe. We love you. Thank you so much for watching and hanging in there with us. Big episode next week, episode 30th. Please check us out. We got some surprises.